What's going on, you guys? AAG here, coming to you with a pretty big video from a pretty small YouTube channel, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. So for this video I'm mainly just going to be going over the pros and cons, but a few things I want to mention before I even start is the performance issue on PC. Yeah, it's really bad, and one thing to note is my friend that had a $1,000 pre-built PC from 4 years ago was able to get this game to run properly and smoothly, other than the drops that every single PC has. So also, every time the game's frames dropped, it decided just to disconnect my controller, so make sure that you're playing with a wired controller. And also you want to be using a controller because the PC controls, the keyboard and mouse controls really suck. I also want to mention the graphics and lighting. They are huge improvements in this game. I've heard a lot of people complaining, and I don't really understand what they're complaining about. The lighting especially looks fantastic, and just the general art design of the game. I also want to say that I am very thankful to actually be able to play a product on release that is finished, that isn't a buggy mess, and that's noteworthy for an open world game. So let's go over the pros. This game definitely lived up to expectation, it lived up to the hype. I can easily say this game's an 8 out of 10. There's items to find around every single corner, and with the addition of the jump, there's a lot more verticality in the designs of the levels. I'm honestly not sure if this game could have gone open world without the introduction of weapon arts. It pretty much lets you put a cool move onto any single weapon in the game, almost any single weapon. And even if you don't have the proper scaling, let's say if it says it's a magical weapon art, you can still make it scale off of something like Dex, which is really nice. The amount of weapons they put in this game is more than any other Souls game for sure, and they look real cool, and they all have pretty cool movesets. I feel like magic is a lot more fleshed out in this game, and the beast spells and the dragon spells and the change to black flame is a big improvement. Getting rid of durability and not requiring armor to be upgraded is a big quality of life. Also, the bell bearings, being able to purchase any upgrade material except pretty much the equivalent of slabs, is definitely required in a game like this. For a game as long as 60 hours, it definitely kept me entertained. So as I said, easily an 8 out of 10. I was not disappointed, and I just want you guys to understand that before I get into the longer part, all my complaining. But, you know, I only complain because I'm a really big fan. Is this game worth being an open world game? As I said, there's plenty of good things to find around every corner, but not all those things are good things. They decided to add in a crafting system into the game, where you can pretty much craft consumable items and arrows, but I feel like this really drew away from my positive experience. Putting crafting materials in clever spots really kind of made me upset that there wasn't upgrade materials in place. Also, there's no doubt that this game has the most reused content out of any Souls game. I fought one boss, or maybe you would call it a mini-boss, 5 or 6 times throughout my first playthrough, and you know, I was done after the second or third time. Another big issue is how many upgrade materials are in the game. There's, 9 different levels of upgrade materials, including the slab, that are required to fully upgrade a weapon, and even completing all the optional content that I could find, I still didn't have enough to craft a level 25 weapon before just being able to buy these upgrade materials. I was so pissed off really thoroughly exploring these worlds because I'd just be picking up crappy crafting items and just constantly asking myself, okay, where's that last upgrade material that I need so I can make a level 25 weapon? All I was waiting on was 2 rarity 7 upgrade materials. It was nice of them to outline on the map these little mining caves that you could explore in order to get these bell bearings, and also in order to get a lot of upgrade materials in that location. But the game never really points that out to you at the beginning. It's just kind of something they expect you to know just from looking on the map. It's funny because I feel like every game after Dark Souls 1 really improved on this, you know, only being able to make plus 10 weapons, and just being able to imbue those weapons straight up into the element that you want instead of upgrading into it. But Elden Ring definitely feels like it took a step back in that regard, because now all of a sudden you're searching for 8 different upgrade materials. At least they don't make you go through optional areas just to find the embers that you need to modify the weapons so you can fully upgrade them. Another funny thing is the story in this game. You know, I heard George R.R. Martin, or whatever his name is, had some amount of influence into creating this story, but honestly it just feels like older Souls titles. You know, instead of a eternal bonfire, you're just trying to burn a tree. They were nice enough to give you arrows directing you on the map where you should go next. But the funny thing is, those aren't even the areas that you really have to go to. Some of the areas were pointing in the direction of optional areas. And without any idea of how difficult the area is, other than an enemy coming over and bodying you, it makes it really hard to properly progress through the path that they want you to progress through. I can't tell you the amount of times that I was just running through enemies trying to collect upgrade materials. And this is even in the areas that you're supposed to be in next. There was an area that was just filled with these giant lobsters, and there's just like 10 of them for no reason. But that is where I needed to go to progress the game, so I was in the right area. There's another point in the game where they require you to pick up a note, and this note is a map point indicating where you're supposed to get this key item. Well, I didn't realize it and accidentally pressed the X button, so I had no clue what I picked up, and thankfully I did such a great job exploring that I managed to find that item anyways, because there's pretty much 0% chance I would have found that item. I get the game doesn't want to hold your hand, and that's a good thing, but not having any indicators on the compass above you for what caves are around you just do nothing except cause you to miss locations that you would have found otherwise. I was going to complain about the vague side quests, but as of today, March 17th, they actually included something that lets you view where they are on the map, so I can no longer complain about that. So those were all issues that stem from the fact that it's an open world game. The next things I'm going to complain about are just general disappointments. This game throws so many intelligence weapons at you, it's not even funny. By the end of my first playthrough, I found, I think it was 4 or 5 intelligent scaling longswords, and that's just longswords. I even found an intelligent scaling greatsword right before the Moonlight greatsword, so I'm not sure what's up with that weapon placement. Poise gives you nothing more than hyper armor whenever you swing your weapons now. I'm not sure why they've gone down this path in the Souls games of nerfing poise so much. Maybe it was too hard to balance, but you know, I do think poise in the original Dark Souls really did add in some depth when it comes to build creating. And just like Dark Souls 3, it doesn't feel like the armor that you're wearing really matters at all. Fashion Souls has never been harder. I cannot come up with a good combination of armor. I'm not sure if it's all the lighting effects on the different armors, the reflections, but it is so hard finding just a basic hood to put over the knight armor. I feel like Elden Ring definitely has the worst fashion Souls out of any Souls game. The kick's gone. They just decided to remove it from all the weapons and just make it a weapon art, which I feel like is a really bad choice. I mean, who's going to choose a kick over some other really cool weapon arts that do 70% of your opponent's health in? And the kick has always had a good use. It's not like it's just some worthless attack that every weapon has. I mean, it's had its use in almost every single Souls game. Everyone complains about the backstabs in Dark Souls 1, but the funniest thing is you can just spam kick, and if they just keep trying to backstab you, there's nothing they can do. They're just going to keep getting kicked back, and it's really funny. And with the kick being gone, who would have ever guessed that shield poking builds would be up there in terms of meta gameplay PvP wise? So back on the topic of Fashion Souls, the shields in this game look ridiculous, and you don't even have that many options. I don't comprehend why they made all the small shields just trash, and I don't know why they made the brass shield so much more powerful than all the other shields. And all the useful shields just, yeah, look like trash. I know there's been a lot of complaining about the game not having an easy mode, but I actually think they did add in an easy mode. It's called the stupid spirit summons. I took just about every boss down my first or second try just because of how overpowered these spirit summons are. And it's like the game expects you to use them, like that's how they balanced the fights. A minor problem that I have, and it's just my personal opinion, is how many times they allow you to respec your character in one playthrough. It's probably about 10 times. That's really not necessary. And I can comprehend why they added in respecking if you like fucked up your build, but this is just too much. This game's soundtrack is unmemorable. You know, I remember in the original Dark Souls where you would go to the Ashen Lake and just hear that music. And whenever you beat the final boss and get the credits, it just really hooked you in. You know, there's never been a game where I actually felt like watching the credits until the original Dark Souls. And this game just doesn't have it. The music's subpar from what I expect, and it seems like they throw in some sort of background music for every area. It's just not needed. So a funny issue that's always been around in every single Souls game is that no one wants to level up their hit points. And then they all complain that the game is too hard because everything's one-shotting them. But towards the end of the game, there were a couple bosses that were actually one-shotting me when I had 50 vitality, like level 110, 50 vitality, heaviest armor in the game. I even tried putting on the physical damage reduction charm, and that didn't even save my life. I swear the game really doesn't want you to just be a strength or just be a dex build. At least with strength there's a sacred seal that lets your casting scale off of strength partially instead of just faith, but dex has just really gotten no love. I think the biggest problem that contributes to this is that any weapon type that you want, let's say you want a katana, well, you can get 2 intelligence-based katanas. And one of those katanas is actually the best weapon in the game in terms of PvP. You know, in Dark Souls 1 you had 2 options for intelligence weapons. You had the Moonlight Greatsword and the Moonlight Butterfly Spear, and that was enough. You get all these cool spells and stuff, you don't really need any more than that. So, my most controversial complaint, it has to be the bosses. The bosses feel so similar. There's 3 of the bosses where it just literally looked and felt like I was fighting the same guy. Like, what happened to all the cool enemies? Like, whenever you would, like, go fight the Taurus Demon, there would be a ladder right behind you with archers on there, and you turn around and you discover that, or you get shot in the back, and it's like, oh, I can climb up there and do a drop attack, or fight them in a more open, wider area. Or, you know, like the Iron Phalanx from, like, Demon Souls, where it was weak against fire and you could, like, throw fire bombs at it that you found all throughout the area. Just really interesting boss designs just got thrown out the window for pretty much every boss to come out like Gwendolyn from the original Dark Souls, or Artorias, one of those two. And don't get me wrong, I like difficult fights, but when every single boss is just a tough humanoid or a tough Sith ripoff, it just makes the fights feel unmemorable. So it's time to talk a bit about the multiplayer. I invade more than I help out people, so I can't comment too much on the co-op. What I will say is that I helped out 2 of my buddies using the password system, and it scaled me down to their level, and it did not do a good job scaling me. One of my friends that was really early in the game, I 3-shot one of the bosses for him, and just utterly destroyed one of the main bosses. And my other friend, it seems like it scaled me properly, but I was still doing a lot more damage than I should have been doing. With Elden Ring being open world, and not being able to use the horse whenever you're in your buddy's world, I could only imagine how long it would take to get place to place. Just sounds like it would be extremely annoying. Where I have the most right to speak is the invading, the PvP of the game. And what can I say, FromSoft has just been continuously punching me in the dick, game after game after game. There's about zero reason to invade anymore. They decided it would be a good idea to drop your souls where you invaded in the other person's world. Not that you get a lot of souls anyways, but I guess they expect you to run all the way to the location where you died at, just to pick up the measly amount of souls they give you. And there's not even really anything you can do with the humanity equivalent in this game. You know, in Dark Souls 1 you could use that to increase your item discovery, you could use it to kindle bonfires, you could use it to give to different covenants in order to upgrade your standing with them and get new equipment or spells. And in this game, you just don't get anything out of those humanity. So, you guys need to tell me how this makes sense. They decide to make an open world game and keep the invasion system, and in the open world, instead of invading in chunks, they decide to limit it to that bonfire's location. So if you got a dude that's to the bonfire north of you, well, you're not going to invade him, sadly. This isn't the biggest deal in the world since the game has just been released and everyone's playing it. Whenever the players start to die down a bit, it's going to be an issue for invading. Another thing is solo hosting. Now, every time that you die, you have to use a humanity, and then you have to use another item just so that invaders can actually invade you as a solo host. You get so many of the finger remedies in this game, with the ability to craft them, that there's not really any risk of running dry. You can just run around the world and collect yellow flowers to make more. It kind of defeats the purpose, because, you know, whenever you'd use that humanity, you know, it's a finite amount, and you don't know if you're going to be able to summon another person next time. I feel like at this point it would just be better to remove the humanity aspect, like, altogether. The finger remedies. There's just really no point for these to be in the game. It's so easy to get bullied whenever you invade someone's world too. Out of the 50 invasions that I participated in, there was only one invasion where I actually had backup, and the craziest thing is that they still have the blue covenant, so all you have to do is like wear the equivalent of a ring, and you can just get another person to back you up instantly. Like the two phantoms weren't enough, you need a blue as well. It's just a total gank fest. And with how the developers really wanted you to use a faith or intelligence build, pretty much everyone that you fight against is going to be spamming spells. Especially those dragon head spells where it summons a dragon and you breathe like a lightning bolt or a rot mist on them. The range is insane. So for the past Souls games, I feel like the ceiling height has just been really low. Like, if you're able to beat the game solo, then you're capable of PvPing, and the only more things that you need is just weapon knowledge. Like, if you know how to react to every single weapon, if you know what's overpowered, then you have just as much chance as the next guy. You know, the only thing this game really has in terms of, like, tech is, like, spaghetti steps and quick swapping weapons, and the spaghetti steps aren't, like, too useful. So, you know, having higher skill than your three opponents doesn't really get you that much farther. Especially if one of those guys is, you know, has been around the block, and he just tells his buddy, oh, just stay back and cast spells. Backstabbing feels more like a detriment to you as well as an invader, because the only way a backstab can really land is if your opponent is like not looking at the screen and like has the worst reaction times ever. There's plenty of time for them to roll out of the way, and it puts you at a disadvantage because sometimes you're not looking at the other person, the summon or the host, so he can just walk up behind you and possibly get a cheeky backstab in. I'd say about half of my invasions, I get into their world and I DC, or they fight the boss, and that's it. It's just the saddest thing because this is like the only way to PvP in the game. Like, sure, you can put your red sign down and hope that some gankers don't summon you, but like, this is it. This is the experience. And there's no incentive to invade. How come after so many installments of the same game, the PvP just gets worse and worse. Like, it would be so simple just to add in a shop where you get a certain sort of currency from invading people and killing them. And let's say you get like a new aura, like red mist coming off you, red lightning at a certain amount of points. You know, maybe like weapon skins. You know, kill 100 people, trade it in for like a fucking rainbow katana skin or something. Just really simple shit to keep people intrigued and to give them something. It doesn't even have to be anything that puts you at a higher advantage versus the other people. And you know, the same thing can be used in a co-op setting too. You know, people helping hosts. It just feels like the game has really not improved in terms of multiplayer, and there's really no excuse. It's easy shit. There's easy stuff they could add in to make it more entertaining. Why, oh why did they not put an arena in on release? If you're gonna discourage people from going into other people's worlds to kill them, then at least have like some form of PvP that's actually fair. And it's just weird because Dark Souls 1's DLC, it added in an arena. Dark Souls 2 came with an arena at launch. Dark Souls 3's DLC had an arena. Like, there's been arenas, just added in on release already. This game should have had an arena right off the bat. So that's it. Thanks for watching my video. I know I could have rambled on for, you know, another 5-10 minutes. But by the end of the day, I'm a really small channel, and just putting all my time into one video that could possibly only get 10 views just isn't something I should be doing. So please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned for more videos, maybe reviews, maybe Elden Ring clips. Yeah, have a good one.